Madeline, meet Mia. She'll be helping you while Jennifer's on maternity leave. I looked up from my computer to see my boss, Derek, standing with a woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Perfect makeup, designer dress, heels that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. I forced a smile and extended my hand. Great to meet you, Mia. I'll show you the ropes. Derek nodded and left us alone. I pulled up a chair for Mia and opened our project management system. So this is where we track all our tech deployments. Oh, is this like Instagram? Mia interrupted, pointing at the screen. I blinked. No, it's our work system for managing projects. She giggled. Right, of course. Sorry, I'm still learning all this computer stuff. My stomach sank. In my 12 years at Tech Global Solutions, I'd trained dozens of people, but something told me this was going to be different. Very different. As I explained our basic procedures, Mia kept checking her phone and asking if we got coffee breaks every hour. When I mentioned she'd need to learn our coding standards, she asked if that was like learning a new makeup technique. I took a deep breath. It was going to be a long few months, 2 weeks in, and I was pulling my hair out. Mia couldn't grasp the simplest concepts. She thought RAM was a type of animal and asked if our servers were the people who brought lunch. I'd spent more time re-explaining basics than doing actual work. During my lunch break, I found my friend Lisa from HR in the cafeteria. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes. Rough day? I asked, sitting down with my salad. Lisa glanced around nervously. You could say that. Hey, about your new trainee. Mia? Don't get me started. Who interviewed her anyway? She doesn't know the first thing about tech. Lisa's voice dropped to a whisper. That's the thing. Nobody interviewed her. The order came directly from Derek. He personally requested she be placed under you. I nearly choked on my lettuce. What? That's not how we hire people. I know, and Madeline, Lisa leaned closer. She's being fast-tracked for a management position. Derek signed off on it himself. My fork clattered onto my tray. Management? Mia couldn't even send an email without help. That makes no sense. Lisa shrugged, looking uncomfortable. Just be careful, okay? Something about this whole situation feels off. The monthly report deadline was approaching fast. 2 weeks ago, I'd given Mia a simple task: compile the deployment statistics into our standard format. Any intern could do it in a day. I'd given her 2 weeks. Mia, where's the deployment report? I asked for the 10th time that week. She looked up from her phone, where she'd been scrolling through designer handbags. Oh, I'm still working on it. You know how complicated these things are. It's already a week past deadline. The board meeting is tomorrow. I'll totally have it done by then, I promise. She flashed a bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. By 6 p.m., there was still no report. The office was empty except for us. I'd had enough. Mia, I'm going to sit here and walk you through this step by step. Watch carefully. I pulled up a chair next to her desk and opened the reporting software. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I explained each step. Mia watched, occasionally making sounds while texting under the desk. A notification popped up on her screen. Your pay stub is ready to view. Just close that, I said, reaching for the mouse, but my finger slipped. Instead of closing the notification, I clicked it. The pay stub opened. My blood turned to ice. $15,000. I stared at the number, certain I was seeing things, but there it was, clear as day. Mia's monthly salary, $15,000. I made $7,500. After 12 years of stellar performance reviews, successful projects, and leading entire departments, she made double. You make $15,000 a month? The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Mia glanced at the screen and laughed. I know, right? What's a girl supposed to do with just $15K? That's like 3 Chanel bags and it's gone. Ugh. My hands were shaking. I stood up so fast my chair rolled backward and hit the wall. I need to. I couldn't finish the sentence. My mind was spinning. How was this possible? Why would Derek pay someone with 0 experience twice what he paid me? Are you okay? Mia asked, not looking up from her phone. I grabbed my laptop and headed for Derek's office. The hallway seemed to stretch forever, each step echoing in the empty building. By the time I reached his door, my shock had transformed into pure rage. I didn't knock. I pushed the door open to find Derek packing up his briefcase. We need to talk, I said. Now, Derek looked up, annoyed at the interruption. Madeline? It's late. Can't this wait until morning? No, it can't. I shut the door behind me. You're paying Mia twice my salary. His expression didn't change. I don't know what you're talking about. I just saw her pay stub, $15,000 a month, Derek. I make half that, and I've been here 12 years. He set down his briefcase and leaned back in his chair. So? The casual response hit me like a slap. So, she doesn't know anything about technology. She thought Ram was an animal. How can you justify paying her double what I make? Derek's face darkened. Get off my back, Madeline. I'm sick of your attitude. My attitude? I'm training someone who can't do basic tasks and she's making twice my salary. He stood up, towering over me. Maybe if you were a better teacher, she'd be learning faster. Ever think of that? I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. A better teacher? I've trained dozens of successful employees. The problem isn't my teaching. The problem, Derek interrupted, is you. Now get out of my office before I write you up for insubordination. I stood there, mouth open, unable to process what was happening. Out, he barked. I left, my legs barely carrying me to the parking lot. I spent the weekend in a fog. Derek's words echoed in my head. Maybe if you were a better teacher. After everything I'd done for the company, everything I'd achieved, he'd reduced me to a bad teacher. By Monday morning, I'd decided to apologize. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe there was an explanation I didn't understand. I practiced my speech during the drive to work. But as soon as I walked into the building, something felt wrong. People avoided eye contact. Conversation stopped when I passed. Lisa intercepted me at the elevator. Madeline, HR needs to see you. Now. My heart sank. What's going on? Just come with me. The HR director, Janet, was waiting with a stack of papers. Her expression was grave. Madeline, we've received a formal complaint about you creating a hostile work environment. I sank into the chair across from her desk. A hostile work environment? From who? Janet glanced at the papers. I can't disclose the complainant, but the allegations are serious. Verbal harassment, aggressive behavior, creating an atmosphere of fear. That's insane. I've never. There will be a full investigation. In the meantime, you're to have no contact with other employees except for essential work communications. I left the meeting in shock. As I walked past Lisa's desk, she whispered, "It wasn't Mia who complained. The order came from Derek." Despite everything, I still went to Derek's office to apologize. Maybe if I smoothed things over, this nightmare would end. I knocked and heard voices inside, Derek's deep tone and Mia's giggle. "Come back later." Derek called out, "Can't you see I'm in a meeting?" Through the glass panel, I could see Mia perched on the edge of his desk, leaning close. They weren't looking at any documents. I waited an hour. When Mia finally emerged, she smirked at me and sauntered back to our department. I knocked again. "What now?" Derek snapped as I entered. "I wanted to apologize for Friday," I began. I was out of line. He barely looked up from his phone. I've been thinking about it all weekend, and you're right. I should have handled it better." "Great. Apology accepted. Anything else?" I took a deep breath. "Actually, yes. I'd like to discuss a raise. Not to match Mia's salary, but something that reflects my 12 years of experience and contributions." Derek finally looked at me. A slow smile spread across his face, but it wasn't friendly. "A raise? Sure, Madeline. I'll give you a raise." Hope flickered in my chest. "No, wait," he continued. "I have a better idea. You're fired." The words hung in the air like poison gas. Fired. "After 12 years. You can't be serious," I managed to say. Derek leaned back, still smiling. "Oh, I'm very serious. We need fresh blood around here. Someone more. Exciting." Exciting? I exceed every target, every quarter. My team has the highest productivity in the company. Clean out your desk. Security will escort you out in an hour. "Derek, please, let's talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about. Mia will be taking over your position by the end of the week." I stood there, numb. Mia, taking over my position? She couldn't even create a simple report. "This is wrongful termination," I said quietly. Derek's smile vanished. "Try to prove it. Now get out." I walked back to my desk in a daze. My team members avoided my eyes as I packed 12 years into a cardboard box. Photos, awards, personal items, all reduced to a single container. Lisa appeared at my cubicle. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "This isn't right." Security arrived exactly an hour later. As they escorted me out, I saw Mia sitting at my desk, my computer, trying on my title like a new dress. She waved, "Bye, Madeline." Thanks for everything. The glass doors closed behind me, and I stood in the parking lot, holding my box, unemployed for the first time in my adult life. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about this whole situation stank. Derek hiring Mia without interviews, her astronomical salary, the way she'd been in his office, sitting so close. I opened my laptop and started with LinkedIn. No profile for Mia, strange for someone in tech. I tried Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Nothing professional, just selfies and shopping posts. Then I tried a reverse image search on one of her photos. Nothing. Another photo. Still nothing. On the third try, I got a hit. My heart stopped. It was a flyer for Diamond Dreams Gentlemen's Club. And there was Mia, barely dressed under the stage name Destiny. I zoomed in. Same face, same smile, just a lot less clothing. The flyer was dated 6 months ago. I kept searching. More flyers, more photos. Mia had been one of the club's featured dancers. Top billing, based on the advertising. My hands were shaking as I searched for connections between Derek and the club. It took an hour, but I found it. A photo from the club's VIP Facebook page. Derek in the background, watching the stage. The pieces clicked together like a horrible puzzle. Derek hadn't hired a tech professional. He'd hired his favorite stripper. But how deep did this go? And more importantly, what was I going to do about it? I spent the next week digging deeper. Every lead opened new questions. I discovered Mia's real last name was Martinez, not the Wilson she used at work. The Diamond Dreams Club was high-end, exclusive, the kind where dancers could make serious money from regular clients. I reached out to former colleagues still at Tech Global. They were nervous about talking, but the stories trickled in. Mia spent hours in Derek's office with the door closed. She was hopeless in meetings, couldn't answer basic questions. The department was struggling without me. She doesn't even try to hide it, my former team lead, James, told me over coffee. Yesterday she asked what a motherboard was, in front of clients. How is she getting away with it? James looked uncomfortable. Derek protects her. Anyone who complains gets written up. 2 people have already quit. That evening, I drove to Diamond Dreams. The parking lot was full of expensive cars. I wasn't there to go inside, just to observe. Around midnight, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Derek's BMW pulled up. He waited in the parking lot, engine running. 20 minutes later, Mia emerged from the employee entrance. She got into his car and they drove away together. This wasn't new. This had been going on for a while. I parked outside Diamond Dreams again the next night, hoping to talk to someone who knew Mia. A bartender on a smoke break noticed me. "You looking for someone?" he asked. I showed him Mia's photo. "Know her?" He laughed. "Destiny? Everyone knows Destiny. She was our top earner until she quit a few months back. Did she have regular clients? One big spender. Corporate type, always wore expensive suits, used to wait for her in the parking lot." He described Derek perfectly. He'd book her for private dances, buy her gifts, real generous. Then one day, she announces she's leaving, said she got a better offer. "What kind of offer?" The bartender shrugged. "Who knows? But get this, the guy paid her to quit. Wanted her all to himself. Must have been some offer to match what she made here." I thanked him and left, my mind racing. Derek hadn't just hired Mia. He'd bought her out of the club, created a fake job, and was paying her with company money to be his exclusive. What? Girlfriend? Mistress? This wasn't just inappropriate. This was embezzlement. I started a spreadsheet. Every fact, every date, every connection. The timeline was damning. Mia joined Tech Global exactly 1 week after leaving Diamond Dreams. Her salary wasn't just high. It was precisely calculated to match her earnings as a dancer, including tips. The deeper I dug, the angrier I got. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about justice. Derek was stealing from the company, and he'd fired me to cover it up. I contacted a lawyer friend for advice. "You need hard evidence," she said. "Financial records, emails, something concrete." But I was locked out of the company systems. Or was I? I remembered something. The shared drive where we stored project documentation. I'd set up a backup system years ago, syncing certain files to a cloud service. It was still active. I logged in and found what I was looking for. Budget reports from my old department. The numbers were shocking. After Mia joined, departmental expenses had skyrocketed. Consulting fees, training costs, equipment purchases, all approved by Derek. Except Mia wasn't consulting. She wasn't training. And the equipment? I'd bet money it never existed. Derek was funneling company funds to pay for his personal relationship, and I was going to prove it. The forensic accounting wasn't easy, but patterns emerged. Mysterious vendors that didn't exist before Mia arrived. Invoices for services never rendered. Payment authorizations with only Derek's signature. In 3 months, over $90,000 had been diverted. That explained Mia's salary and then some. But I needed more than spreadsheets. I needed a smoking gun. James called me one evening, voice shaking. "Madeline, you need to know something. The development project you were leading? It's failing. We're going to miss the deadline." "Mia can't manage it?" "Manage it?" She told the team to make it pretty and spent the meeting looking at shoes online. "We're hemorrhaging money." This was my opening. If the department was failing, the executives would investigate. They'd audit the books. They'd find what I'd found, but I couldn't wait for them to discover it naturally. Too many people were suffering. Good employees were quitting. Clients were unhappy. I made a decision. It was time to file a formal whistleblower complaint. I spent all night preparing my report. Financial evidence, timelines, witness statements. By dawn, I had a bulletproof case. Derek Winters was defrauding Tech Global Solutions, and I could prove it. I submitted the whistleblower complaint through the company's ethics hotline. 20 pages of evidence, carefully documented. The automatic response said investigations typically took 4 to 6 weeks. But something must have struck a nerve, because within days, things started happening. James texted me. Auditors showed up. They're going through everything. The investigation moved fast. Maybe the board had suspected something already. Maybe my complaint confirmed their worst fears. Either way, the company brought in external forensic accountants. Meanwhile, the department continued to implode. A major client pulled their contract after Mia missed another deadline. She'd apparently told them the delay was due to Mercury being in retrograde. James kept me updated. "She's panicking, snapping at everyone. Derek's been in closed-door meetings all week." Then came the breakthrough I'd been waiting for. The auditors found something I'd missed. A shell company Derek had created. Mia was listed as a consultant receiving monthly payments. But the shell company's address? It was the same as Diamond Dreams Gentlemen's Club. Derek had literally used the strip club's address for his fake consulting firm. The arrogance was breathtaking. My phone rang. It was the lead investigator. "Miss Thompson, we'd like you to come in for a formal interview." The interview took place at Tech Global's law firm, not the main office. 3 lawyers, 2 auditors, and a court reporter. They'd clearly found something big. "Miss Thompson, your complaint led us to uncover significant financial irregularities. We need to understand the full picture." For 3 hours, I walked them through everything. Mia's hiring, her lack of qualifications, the salary discrepancy, Derek's protection of her. I showed them the Diamond Dreams connection, the timeline, the pattern of fraudulent payments. The lead lawyer's face grew more serious with each revelation. "Did Mr. Winters ever directly threaten your employment if you questioned Ms. Martinez's position?" "He fired me the day I asked about her salary." They exchanged glances. One auditor pulled out a file. "We've discovered Mr. Winters created multiple unauthorized payments totaling over $200,000. Ms. Martinez was the primary recipient, $200,000, even more than I'd calculated. We believe this constitutes embezzlement and breach of fiduciary duty. We'll need your full cooperation as we proceed with legal action." I agreed immediately. As I left, the lead lawyer shook my hand. "You did the right thing, Miss Thompson. This kind of corruption damages everyone." The next week was chaos at Tech Global. Derek was suddenly on vacation. Company speak for suspended. Mia still showed up, but spent most days crying in the bathroom or on her phone in the parking lot. Then the email went out company-wide. The board of directors announces that Derek Winters is no longer with the company, effective immediately. My phone exploded with texts from former colleagues. The news spread like wildfire through the tech community. Derek Winters, rising star executive, fired for embezzlement. But it got worse for him. Tech Global didn't just fire him, they filed criminal charges. Embezzlement, fraud, misuse of company resources. The story hit the tech blogs. Executive paid stripper girlfriend with company funds. Mia lasted another 2 days before she was also terminated. Security escorted her out while she sobbed into her phone. presumably calling Derek. James sent me a photo of her desk being cleared out. All those shopping bags, gone. The designer heels, boxed up. The nameplate reading Director of Operations, in the trash. Then came the lawsuits. Tech Global sued Derek for recovery of stolen funds. The district attorney filed criminal charges. His assets were frozen pending investigation. The trial was swift. Derek's lawyers tried to argue the payments to Mia were legitimate compensation for consulting services. The prosecution destroyed that defense in minutes. Can you show us any work product Ms. Martinez created? Can you explain why a technology consultant was registered at a gentleman's club address? Can you justify a salary twice that of senior engineers for someone who couldn't define basic technical terms? Derek took a plea deal. 2 years in prison, full restitution of stolen funds, and a permanent ban from serving as an officer in any public company. The tech industry blacklisted him overnight. His LinkedIn disappeared, his social media went dark. The Golden Boy executive was now a cautionary tale told at business schools. Mia tried to reinvent herself, but the internet never forgets. Every job application led to Googled results about the scandal. She eventually left the state. I heard through the grapevine she was back at Diamond Dreams, dancing under a new stage name, from Director of Operations to working the pole again. Her Instagram still showed designer bags, but now they were from past years, slowly selling off her collection. The irony wasn't lost on me. She traded her independence for a fake corporate job and ended up right back where she started. Tech Global reached out to me a month after the trial. The interim CEO wanted to meet. Miss Thompson, we owe you an apology. What happened to you was wrong on every level. She offered me my job back. Better title, significantly higher salary, full back pay for the time I was wrongfully terminated. I thought about it for exactly 10 seconds. No, thank you. Her face fell. May I ask why? Because Tech Global allowed this to happen. The culture that enabled Derek still exists. I've moved on. And I had. During the investigation, several companies had reached out. My story was public now, the whistleblower who exposed massive corporate fraud. Instead of being toxic, I was seen as someone with integrity. I accepted a position as vice president of technology at a startup. Double my old salary. Ironically, the same amount Mia had been making through fraud. But I earned it through actual skills and experience. My new company had transparent hiring practices, clear salary bands, and zero tolerance for nepotism or favoritism. It was everything Tech Global should have been. 6 months later, I was grabbing coffee when I saw a familiar face. Derek, but barely recognizable. Gone were the designer suits and confident swagger. He wore jeans and a dated polo, shoulders hunched. He saw me and froze. For a moment we just stared at each other. Madeline, he said quietly. I could have walked away, should have probably, but I stood my ground. Derek, he started, then stopped. I'm sorry, for everything. The apology felt hollow. Too late, too forced. But I noticed the wedding ring was gone from his finger. What are you doing now? I asked, not out of concern but curiosity. Freelance IT support, small businesses. It's hard to find work when you're a convicted felon. From CEO track to fixing computers in strip mall offices. The fall was complete. I hope you learned something, I said, turning to leave. Madeline, wait. His voice cracked. She left me. As soon as the money was gone, took what she could and disappeared. Of course she did. Mia was never interested in Derek, just his wallet and what he could provide. When that dried up, so did her affection. I felt no sympathy. You destroyed careers for her, including mine. I know. I think about it every day. The tech industry is smaller than people think. Word travels fast. Within a year, my story became legend, the woman who exposed a corrupt executive and rebuilt her career stronger than ever. I was invited to speak at conferences about corporate ethics and the importance of whistleblower protections. Young professionals, especially women, approached me for advice on handling workplace harassment and discrimination. My new role flourished. The startup grew rapidly, and my equity stake became increasingly valuable. I hired my own team, including several former Tech Global employees who'd suffered under Derek's regime. James joined as my senior developer. Remember when Mia asked if we could download more RAM? He joked during his first week. We built a department based on merit, transparency, and mutual respect. Everything my old job should have been, but wasn't. The contrast was stark. No mysterious hires, no inexplicable salary discrepancies, no closed-door meetings that had nothing to do with work, just talented people doing excellent work and being fairly compensated for it. One afternoon, I received an email from an unknown address. The subject line, "Thank you." It was from another woman at Tech Global. Derek had apparently pressured her for private meetings before I exposed him. My actions had saved her from becoming another victim. 2 years passed. The startup went public, and my equity made me financially secure beyond my wildest dreams. I could have retired, but I loved the work too much. At an industry conference, I ran into Tech Global's current CEO. She pulled me aside during the networking reception. "I wanted to thank you personally," she said. "Your courage exposed a cancer in our organization. We've implemented sweeping reforms because of you." She listed the changes: mandatory ethics training, transparent hiring processes, regular salary audits, independent HR oversight. Everything that could have prevented Derek's scheme. "We'd love to have you speak to our leadership team about building ethical cultures." I agreed. It felt like closure, returning to Tech Global not as an employee, but as an expert teaching them how to be better. The presentation went well. In the audience, I recognized several former colleagues. They smiled and nodded as I spoke about the importance of speaking up against wrongdoing. After the talk, Lisa from HR approached. She'd been promoted to head of the department. "I'm sorry I couldn't do more back then," she said. "I knew something was wrong but felt powerless." "You did what you could," I replied. "The system was broken. At least now it's fixed." The universe has a sense of humor. 3 years after everything imploded, I was at a tech conference in Vegas when I spotted a familiar figure at the hotel bar. Mia. She was older, tired-looking. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by a cocktail server uniform. She was working the conference, serving drinks to the same executives she'd once pretended to be. She saw me and fumbled a tray of glasses. They shattered on the floor. As she knelt to clean up the mess, our eyes met. I could have felt vindicated, could have enjoyed her humiliation. Instead, I felt nothing. She was just another person who'd made bad choices and faced consequences. Later that evening, she approached my table during a break. "Madeline," she said quietly, "can we talk?" I gestured to an empty chair. She sat down hesitantly. "I'm sorry," she began. "I knew it was wrong, all of it. But Derek promised me a real career, a way out of dancing. I thought I was trading up." "You traded your integrity for a lie," I replied. She nodded, tears forming. "I know. I lost everything. My reputation, my savings, even Derek. Turns out he had other girls at other clubs. I was just the one he got caught with." The revelation didn't surprise me. Men like Derek never stop at one victim. "I hope you've learned from it," I said, standing to leave. "Every day," she whispered. "Every single day. Success is the best revenge, they say. But my success wasn't about revenge. It was about refusing to let corruption define my story. My company grew into a major player in the tech industry. We acquired smaller firms, expanded globally, and maintained our commitment to ethical business practices. I became known not just as a whistleblower, but as a visionary leader. Forbes featured me in their Women Who Changed Tech issue. The article mentioned the Tech Global scandal, but focused on what I'd built afterward. The photo showed me in my office, surrounded by awards and a diverse team of brilliant engineers. Derek's name appeared only in passing, a footnote in my larger story. His legacy was shame and prison. Mine was innovation and integrity. I established a nonprofit foundation supporting women in technology. We provided legal resources for those facing workplace discrimination and scholarships for young women entering STEM fields. At the foundation's first gala, I spoke about my experience. When we see wrongdoing, we have 2 choices: stay silent and become complicit, or speak up and create change. I chose change. The audience, executives, engineers, students, gave a standing ovation. Among them were several women who'd faced similar situations and found courage in my story. Sometimes justice comes in unexpected ways. The IRS, investigating Derek's tax fraud related to the embezzlement, uncovered a broader scheme. He'd been taking kickbacks from vendors for years, long before Mia entered the picture. Additional charges were filed, his sentence extended. More companies discovered they'd been defrauded. The Golden Boy executive became a case study in corporate corruption. I received a letter from him in prison. A rambling apology, asking for forgiveness, blaming everyone but himself. I didn't respond. Some bridges aren't worth rebuilding. Mia reached out too, years later. She'd moved back to her hometown, was working as a bookkeeper, living quietly. She'd returned to school, studying accounting, legitimately this time. I wanted you to know I'm trying to make things right, her email read. Not for forgiveness, but for myself. I wrote back briefly, good luck. Everyone deserves a chance to rebuild, even those who wronged us. The tech world moved on. New scandals replaced old ones, but the reforms sparked by my case endured. Whistleblower protections strengthened. Ethics training became mandatory. Transparency in hiring and compensation improved across the industry. Change happened slowly, then all at once. My story became part of that change. 10 years later, I stood in my corner office, looking out at the city skyline, CEO of a Fortune 500 tech company. The journey from that humiliating day when Derek fired me to here felt surreal. On my desk sat a photo from our latest team retreat. Diverse faces, genuine smiles, people who'd earned their positions through merit and hard work. No mysterious hires, no inexplicable salaries, no closed-door favoritism. A knock interrupted my thoughts. My assistant entered with the day's schedule. Don't forget, you're speaking at Stanford Business School this afternoon. The topic is ethical leadership in tech. I smiled. These speaking engagements had become routine, but I never tired of them. Each time I told my story, I reached new minds, planted seeds of integrity in future leaders. As I prepared my notes, my phone buzzed. A news alert. Former tech executive Derek Winters denied parole again. I felt no satisfaction, just a sense of completion. He'd chosen his path. I'd chosen mine. That afternoon, facing eager business students, I began my talk the way I always did. Let me tell you about the day I discovered my trainee was making twice my salary, and how that revelation changed not just my life, but an entire industry's approach to ethics and accountability. Their eyes widened, pens poised. Another generation ready to learn that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply tell the truth.